Hello and welcome to the HitHard News Show. I am your host, Ben Blackwell, and I am joined today by Chris Glover, who is a press officer for Kieran Farrell Promotions Firm and also press officer for St Andrews Sports Club. And first of all, Chris, how are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you, Chris. I'm very, very well. So tonight's topics of conversation for the show is, of course, it's going to be the action from Saturday, this upcoming Saturday from London at the O2 Arena on the massive global phenomenon of a show, which is Gennady Golovkin facing Sheffield's very own Kell Brook as
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel, exactly, Ezekiel.
Get your facts right.
Thank you very much.
I'm not getting allowed back on this podcast again, am I?
We want to be as professional as we possibly can. So yes, obviously, Triple G versus Sheffield's Kell Brook in a big. When this fight was first announced, took the boxing world by surprise, because who in their right mind would have predicted Kell Brook, a welterweight champion, moving up 2 weight divisions to face arguably, in most people's eyes, either number 1 or number 2 ranked pound-for-pound fighter. So we'll go back to June or July, whenever this announcement took place. So, Chris.
Yeah.
What was your first initial reaction to this fight being announced, and how have you seen the fight come about since the announcement to now?
Well, it was initial shock. You know, nobody could say I saw that coming, but if they said that, they'd be lying. Mm-hmm. Coming to think about it now, the stories of Kell will be the same, similar size when he's in the ring. If he was, why is he being at Sheffield's Hallam University doing strength training? If he was naturally going to be that big anyway, to me that doesn't add up. However, maybe that's just me not being too clued in on sports science, but I think Tom Loffer has come out and said this will not be a competitive fight. He's not tried to sell the fight. He's not tried to promote the fight. He's just told it as it is. And I think that should really be, a giveaway in how this fight's going to go. And I'm not throwing salt at Kell. 100% credit for him to stepping up and taking the fight. But it's trying to mirror Ray Leonard when he stepped up to fight Marvin Hagler. But in the harsh reality of it, Kell Brook is not Ray Leonard.
But there is obviously fact. I'm in agreement with you. I'm not comparing Kell Brook to Sugar Ray Leonard in any shape, way, or form. But
however, sorry to stop you, but I would compare Golovkin to Hagler. I think Golovkin's that good.
That's a big call. And you've kind of put me on the spot. But there is 100% some definite comparisons. But as in terms of my initial reaction to the fight itself, when it was first announced, I was mainly surprised, not with that Kell took the fight.
Yeah.
As such, I would expect any fighter worth their salt to take a fight of this magnitude.
Yes.
A little bit surprised of the weight, of the jump up in weight, but my main question was, what the hell's happened to Chris Eubank Jr.? And as it transpired from Eddie Hearn's announcements and press interviews as such that the Eubank family was incredibly hard to work with, and in my opinion, that is to be expected when you have such a colourful character in Chris Eubank Sr. calling the shots. So if you're looking at terms of a good substitute between Chris Eubank Jr. and Kell Brook, I think it's quite a good substitute on a relative quick turnaround from Plan A, which would have been Chris Eubank Jr., to Kell Brook. And so to that, clever promoting by Eddie Hearn, Tom Loeffler, and just simple full credit and top players for Kell Brook for stepping up to the fight.
Definitely.
Stepping up to fight, because like one thing which both fighters do have in comparison, they have been starved of big fights. They have been starved. I believe, and I'm sure a lot of people will believe as well, that Kell Brook has been a heavily avoided welterweight, and Golovkin, everyone's been running from him, kicking and screaming, and in any way direction they can possibly go.
I'm not sure if you've read an article today. I think it was in Sky Sports. Boxing. It may have been Boxing Scene. I read an article today, however, that when Darren Barker was after fighting for the world middleweight title, it may have been before the Sergio Martinez fight, Golovkin had just picked up the WBA regular in the IBO, and it wasn't Tom Loeffler, it was another one of Golovkin's handlers. He may not be with him anymore. His name, I can't remember his name, but he offered Eddie Hearn the fight for free.
The fight for free, and I have seen that article, and I heard that story 2 years ago when Darren Barker retired. That bout was offered the fight for free, but it wasn't Darren Barker who turned it down. It wasn't Eddie Hearn. It was Tony Sims. But
his response to Eddie Hearn began with an F and finished with another F.
Okay, I get. I'm
staying professional. I'm not saying it on air.
I know. So like back on point. Anyway, we'll try not to have too many tangents. But back on to the main event is like one thing which I kind of which I do like about this fight is that the casual market have really bought into this fight, which can only mean good for the sport's attention as a whole. It's getting a lot of hype. It's getting it's getting overall a lot of love, which for like a fight of this magnitude, I just think it's absolutely fantastic to see. Yes. More than anything, it puts boxing truly back on the back pages, like back in the 90s, back in the 80s, the 70s. So as a journalist, how have you rated the coverage that this fight's got from the written press, the YouTubers, the online press, the media outlets? What has been your opinion on the reporting of this fight so far?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to reporters, online media outlets, YouTubers, whatever. They have to have content to report on, and maybe call me old-fashioned, but I believe that a promoter should promote a show. The problem with boxing these days is you see too many event organisers calling themselves promoters. Eddie Hearn promotes a show. Him, along with, I think, Anthony Lever at Matchroom, does a fantastic job with the press. And also they utilise Sky Sports perfectly. And it trickles down from there. Eddie Hearn knows how to sell a fight. And because of his utilisation of his resources,
Mm-hmm.
it trickles down onto onto all the online media outlets, onto YouTube, onto podcasts, onto blogs. And I think it's just simply by it's in everyone's faces. You can't fault the media coverage that Matchroom generate and Sky Sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's an interesting fight. Like, it's like it reminds me, and I know it's a bit different because of the weight thing, but when Ricky Hatton went over to Vegas to fight Floyd Mayweather, there was some, some people like myself who were a bit like, I love Ricky, but he hasn't got a hope in hell. And then you had, well, what if? And it's that what if that is selling this fight. What if Kell can move? What if he can switch it? What if he can keep Golovkin offset? And that is what is creating the interest. That's along with the sheer quality of promotion from Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Sport.
Yeah.
That is what is drawing so much interest to this fight. And not to mention the undercard. I think the undercard's quality.
We will go into the undercard a little bit later on, but as in terms of the fights itself, I'm taking from your expressions and initial thoughts is the fight's not going to be that competitive.
I don't see the fight as competitive.
Are you predicting a early knockout, mid-round knockout? Are you predicting a white points victory?
No, I think I think Kell's going to come out. His movement's very underrated. People just see him as a power puncher. He's not. He can move. He's an angle fighter. They can move. He will have been working on a lot of movements. He's not going to stand toe to toe with Golovkin. He's just not. He's going to try and move. He's going to try and keep Golovkin offset. He's got a very good jab. He's going to try and utilise the jab early and try and keep Golovkin at range, pick his shots when he can, and then try and maybe pick up the pace after four. I think for the first four, I always see a fight split into first four, second four, third four. That's just the way I see a fight.
Yeah.
And I think for the first four, he's just going to try and survive. Maybe just try and edge the round, just make it boring, make it awkward. That's what angle fighters do well. Look at Junior Witter. He did that for years.
Try and basically steal rounds.
Steal rounds because he's not gonna win a round, from out punching Golovkin, is he? And Dominic Ingle's not a stupid man. He's a very, very clever man. He knows that. However, I think if he does, Golovkin's got a very good jab as well, and he's got power in his jab. And I think he's gonna have to start committing at some point. That could be after round four. I think he'll start maybe trying to pick up the pace, maybe trying to commit a little bit more. If he has a little bit of success, you never know, he might get a bit confident, and then that's when I think Golovkin, I'll start tagging him. Maybe he might pick the pace up himself, and that's when the end will come between 4 and 8.
As with myself, I actually see a relative quick start from Kell Brook, because one thing which I have seen from Golovkin, not in his previous performance, but particularly against David Lemieux, as such, he did start off, I don't want to say slow because that would be doing the man disservice, but he was very, I like to use the term patient. He was very, very educated, which would give Kell Brook, in my opinion, he's definitely got the speed, in my opinion, to trouble and offset Golovkin. Absolutely 100% in agreement with you. So I think for the first 3-4 rounds, definitely 3-4 rounds, that Kell Brook will be, I don't want to say winning the rounds comfortably because we don't know what's exactly going to happen. Like as you previously said, there is a lot of what ifs, and And like until we see Kell Brook adapt to middleweight, actually under competition conditions, it's all the mystery, it's all the guess. But my initial thoughts are that Kell Brook will start off very quick, use his speed, use his movement, and I also believe that Kell Brook is a very slippery mover as well defensively, which will cause.
Yes.
Although Golovkin's a very accurate puncher, same as Kell. I think Kell is a little bit more elusive. I think he's better defensively in terms of his movements and his hand positioning to trouble Golovkin getting his shots early off of the first 3-4 rounds. I see that, like I said, a quick start, a little bit of cat and mouse. Golovkin trying to corner the ring off at times, but being patient. So literally just as he did against David Lemieux, first 2 rounds, basically scouting missions. Kell Brook should, and he will have to take advantage of them. But then after 4 rounds, I think Golovkin will up his tempo because he's figured him out. And one thing which Golovkin does have is excellent timing. And timing will always be speed. So
it does, doesn't it? It does. If you've got that timing, it'll always beat speed. It just will.
Mm-hmm. It just will. So from rounds 4 to 7, I can see Golovkin working the jab, lead rights to the head, letting know Kell's there. You've had it easy now. You've had it relatively easy. I'm coming for you now. He's going to put on a lot of educated pressure. He's going to corner him, going to back him up against the ropes and utilise the body shots, which I believe Golovkin's body work is some of the vastly underrated body punching in boxing. Because
everyone to the body is excellent.
It is excellent to the body, and a lot of people just see the vicious headshots, which they are vicious.
Macklin fight?
Yeah, killed him virtually. Snapped him in half from body shots, and he will utilise that, but I think Kell will survive the body barrage as such, but will begin to slow down once the rate increases, catches up with him. I don't particularly buy into the size argument that it's going to be simply a bigger man versus a smaller man. I don't agree with that, but I
don't buy into that. I think it's a. I don't buy into that either. I think it's a stronger man.
I think it's a stronger man and a natural welterweight. I think Golovkin. I'm in agreement with the producer of the show, Andy, who's doing the recording, in believing that Gennady Golovkin is one of the few fighters in boxing today who's fighting at his natural weight division, similar to the likes of, I'm not comparing these two fighters in terms of ability, but Cal Froch, a career super middleweight, had no problems making the weight. Gennady Golovkin, a career middleweight, has no problems making the weight. So I just see you're going to have one man who's going to be at it healthy for 12 rounds as a natural middleweight against a man who's come up from welterweight. I'm not going to say blown up, because I do believe that Kell Brook is a naturally big guy, fighting at welterweight for way too long. Anyone who knows boxing in South Yorkshire knows that how the hell Kell Brook's making welterweight is nothing short of a miracle. But I just see Kell Brook just eventually fading, which leads into the third half of the fight. I don't see Kell Brook getting knocked out. I don't see him getting even dropped. I just see Kell Brook being gradually outboxed over time, because Gennady Golovkin has got a fantastic boxing IQ and ability, which will eventually lead from the body barrage into slowing Kell Brook down and just simply being outboxed. I think I'm one of the few people who believe that Kell Brook will see the final bell.
See, that brings into a question. Unfortunately, we have seen some very, very contentious decisions in British boxing in recent years. One that there's so many. There's not really one that stands out. One that just popped into my head then was I don't know if you ever remember Raimundo Beltran when he fought Ricky Burns in Glasgow, and it was one of the most disgusting decisions I've ever seen.
But talking back on that, on the Ray Beltran fight, that was nothing more but shameful. But let's put things into perspective. You've got a Ricky Burns mandatory defense against, was it mandatory or voluntary?
I think it was a voluntary.
Exactly. You have got Ricky Burns fight, a Gennady Golovkin fight. I think the stage is a little bit too big. In no offense to Ricky Burns and Raimundo Beltran, two great fighters, but I don't. If there was a robbery, I think there would be too much of a public outcry. So I don't think that will be a robbery as such if it does go to points. I just, because also I don't want to bring politics.
Do you think Golovkin will take the chance? I don't think he'll want to take the chance of taking it to points because he's Abel Sanchez, Tom Loffer, the very smart team. They'll know you don't go over it. Britain's becoming, and I don't want to run down British boxing or the officials because mostly they're neutral, but it's not a good look when Great Britain is being compared to getting a decision against Felix Sturm in Germany, and that never happened for anyone years ago, And some of those comments that have been made in recent years, and I'm just not sure that Golovkin's team will want to take the chance in going to points. I think that they'll be looking to take Kel out, and that's what also makes me believe not only that I didn't believe it in the first place, but that is what is making me, in my opinion, positive that he's going to go looking for the knockout.
I think if we know anything about Triple G as a fighter, I think we both know that Gennady Golovkin will go for the knockout if he has the opportunity handed to him on a plate. He would be foolish not to take it. So if there is an opportunity, I think he will attempt to take it. Will he be able to pull it off?
Yeah.
As you believe so, I think there's a little bit. There's a few question marks to me whether he can actually take it off, but that is no fault against Golovkin whatsoever. It is just simply, to me, is how does Kel adapt at the weight? But what if he could be absolutely fine and he could be doing somersaults and boxing rings around Triple G? We don't know yet until fight night. As like we both said, this is what makes this fight so intriguing. It's that what if fight. What if?
Yes.
So then, I think you're going to be picking Triple G, my friend.
Yes, and it's not that I'd be very, very happy to see Kel Brook win. I would, he seems to, I've never actually met Kel personally, but he seems a very nice fella, and the Ingles have always, the good boxing people, the true boxing people. So I'd be nothing more than happy to see Kel Brook win it. He's been a great servant to British boxing, but the reality of it is I just can't see it.
Okay, so are you picking Golovkin knockout?
Yeah, Golovkin
what round?
Knockout.
Any round?
Do I have to pick a round?
Just
5.
Oh, big call. As like myself, I'm gonna pick Golovkin by unanimous decision, winning by 4 or 5 rounds. 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Comfortably. I just don't see Kel Brook getting knocked out. That's the thing. I think he's too coy defensively to not get knocked out. So that is what I am going to put my suggestion down to. So, as we've previously mentioned, we've got a quite surprising for a pay-per-view event, quite a good undercard, because it's been the recent trend, particularly in recent years, to have quite, I don't want to say shabby undercards, but underwhelming undercards on various pay-per-view shows internationally, not just UK-wise. So on the undercard, we have got Stuart Hall challenging former foe for his previous belt, which he owned, in Lee Haskins in a IBF bantamweight bout. We've got two-weight world champion, highly rated flyweight Jean-Riel Casimero taking on eight-fight professional but celebrated amateur Charlie Edwards. And then also up the bill, we've got Callum Smith, we've got Conor Benn, we've got Kid Galahad, Craig Richards, and have I missed anyone else out? Paul Smith. Is that all the undercard I've mentioned?
Martin J. Ward, Andy Townsend.
Martin J. Ward and Andy Townsend. I do apologise to both.
Cracking little fight, that.
That is a cracking fight, but as I said, we'll get on to it. So let's start off. I'm guessing with what will be the chief support, Lee Haskins and Stuart Hall. Stuart Hall. I was actually there at Leeds Arena when Stuart Hall won the title back in 2013 against Vusi Malinga.
Yeah.
He defended it against Martin Ward. No direct relation to Martin J. Ward, who's fighting on the undercard, and
I thought they were cousins.
I'm not a boxing historian. If the cousins,
they're both travellers. They're both travellers. I know that.
They come from the same background, but
yes.
But Stuart Hall then faced Paul Butler, lost a close decision in most people's eyes.
Yeah.
Then he fought again for his old belt against Randy Caballero in Monte Carlo. Lost a wide decision. It was outclassed truly on the night, and then Caballero was supposed to defend his belt against Lee Haskins of November of last year's, but simply overweight by 5.5 pounds and handed Lee Haskins the title on a plate. And then Lee Haskins made his maiden defense in April of this year against Morales.
Yes.
In Cardiff, and it's basically what I'm trying to make out is it's all come full circle.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
It all comes, and they both have history as well. In their previous fight up in Gateshead, wasn't that fight 2012, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And Lee Haskins won quite handsomely, didn't he, if I'm led to believe?
Yes, from what I can remember of it.
Mm-hmm. Because that fight was not, I believe, shown on TV, which would have been a shame to... It would have been nice to have footage of that fight and trying to make a prediction. But how do you see this fight going? Because me personally, I believe Lee Haskins, as much as Stuart Hall has improved, under Max McCracken, he has improved. He's improved tenfold since his switch from Mick Marsden to
Max McCracken.
I was going to say Rob McCracken then, but Max McCracken. Do you think Stuart Hall's improved enough to challenge Lee Haskins? Because I think Lee Haskins, he's a very, very elusive, slick, clever fighter.
You've just took the words out of my mouth. Just took the words out of my mouth, yeah.
He is not your typical British fighter who comes forward and comes to have a go. He's definitely got, I don't want to say, he's almost got American fighter characteristics. Very slick. He's a counter-punching fighter, which you don't see many British fighters do.
Excuse me. Yeah, my opinion on... I've followed both Lee Haskins and Stewie Hall. I was a big Lee Haskins fan.
Likewise.
One of the pages he used to run on Facebook, well, I still do a bit on it now, called Boxing Britain. I used to actually constantly write, get Lee Haskins a world title fight, because I rated him that highly, and he was kind of the forgotten man for a period, a couple of years back, and the job the Sanagars have done with him has been excellent. In recent years, they've really took him to the forefront, and now he's boxing on Sky, pay-per-view, on the undercard of one of the biggest fights Britain's seen for a while. I'd say with Stewie Hall, he has improved under Max McCracken, but he's getting on as well. He's not young anymore. He's not a spring chicken. Max McCracken very doesn't really get the praise he should get. You get a lot of these superstar trainers around these days who soaking up all the praise, and Max McCracken maybe doesn't want to be in the limelight, but he certainly deserves to be. He's a very good trainer. However, in the case of Stewie Hall, I think Lee Haskins is just too good. Stewie would obviously try and look to walk him down, put pressure on him, put his weight on him, because Stewie's very big for the bantamweight.
Very big.
He's same size as me, Stewie, and I. The last time I weighed 8 stone 7, I was about 14. So, he is very big for the bantamweight. But I think Lee Haskins is just quality. Everything that Stewie comes in at straight lines at times. He comes in a little bit square at times, and that's just what Lee wants. Lee will just put, Lee had the pressure fighting in his last fight in even Morales, and I think even Morales had caused Stewie Hall a lot of problems, and Lee was excellent on the night. I just can't see past Lee Haskins. I think, Stewie Hall really, I like Stewie Hall's story, how he turned his life around. He was in Ibiza, partying and turned his life around, and now he become a family man, and boxing changed him. And you know what? I love that story. I really do. And I'd be more than happy if he won. I'm happy for either fighter, but Lee Haskins, unbelievable amateur fighter. Not many people know this. He won the ABA Junior title. He beat Derry Matthews in the ABA Junior title. Derry was disqualified for headbutting him. But he's an unbelievable fighter, Lee Haskins, and I think that I just can't see past him. I think I'd like to see Lee Haskins fight Scott Quigg.
Big talk. Big shout. I'll go on to that. We'll go on to the futures of both fighters shortly. I'm in very much of agreement with you. I just think Lee Haskins has definitely he's got the repertoire to make Stuart Hall just walk onto shots.
Yes.
Because it's publicly acknowledged that Stuart Hall is a very one-dimensional fighter. Very one-dimensional. It's like Ron Seal. He does exactly what it says on the tin. Comes forward, gloves up, throws bombs.
Yes.
I just think Haskins. I think Haskins has now matured as a fighter, where he doesn't need to get involved in a brawl like they did in their first fight. Very up close, slugging it out.
Yes.
They'll be very. I think Lee Haskins has got the intelligence not to fall into that trap. But one thing,
I think he's got the temperament and the maturity now. He's a bit older. But
saying that, do you think the obvious needle in the fight will overflow into the ring? Because it's become very, very apparent that there's a huge dislike for each other.
I think it's more likely to spew over, in my opinion, for Stewie. I think the style he fights, he's a pressure fighter. He's come forward. He likes a fight. And I think when it's more... I think just with the personalities, Lee Haskins is chilled out. He's a chilled out person. He's cool. He's trying... I think he's been trying to wind Stewie up a little bit, because he'll line Stewie up into making mistakes. And you make mistakes against Lee Haskins, you pay for them, simple as. And I genuinely believe that I think the needle itself, I don't think there's any true needle from Lee's point of view. There might be from Stewie, but I don't really think there is from Lee. However, you know, if Stewie comes out all guns blazing, leaving himself wide open, he'll get picked apart and he'll get stopped in 6 rounds. And Stewie's a very tough man. And I know he's a very tough man, but I think if he did get stopped, he'd get stopped on swelling or cuts or something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, age isn't kind to everyone. You know, he's getting on now, so I think he needs to be very careful. And I fully accept, you know, I fully respect the fact that Max McCracken is going to have a great game plan in the corner for him. You know, I wouldn't expect anything less from him. However, you know, I just think Lee Haskins is getting better now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Stewie Hall hasn't improved, but Lee Haskins is still improving. And thought he showed that last time out. You watch Lee Haskins against Steven Morales, then you watch Lee Haskins 5 years ago.
Oh,
there's no comparison.
It's night and day almost, night and day.
It is. He's now a slick, back-footed fighter, not taking any chances. Arguably making it a little bit boring at times, but you know, he's winning rounds. You know, he's winning rounds, winning the fight comfortably. You don't get paid to take. One thing that annoys me so much in boxing is people who think, you know, you've got to take. There's nothing cool about taking punches. It's about hitting and not getting hit. That's boxing. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I like you said, if you've got a good chin or you've not, you know, it's about hitting and not getting hit. And Lee Haskins does that better than most in Britain at the moment, and that stems all the way back from when he was an amateur, because he used to do that in the amateurs. Yeah.
So, like, you're picking Haskins inside 6?
I don't think he'll go inside 6. I think he might. It's a hard shout, this, because he could slow the pace. He could slow the pace down late if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And then just take a comfortable unanimous decision. If he really wants to step it up, I think I'm gonna say 9-12 Lee Haskins.
I'm seeing just a wise point victory for Lee Haskins. I think Lee Haskins has the power to stop Stuart Hall.
Yes.
I am much more in agreement with you. I don't think it will be a knockout. I think it's going to be more in terms of the cuts and swelling, because Stewie, he does take a lot of damage with like the way he fights, and he does have a tendency to swell up very badly. You only had to see his fight last time out, and against Vusi Malinga, he fought with one eye for 5 rounds. So it is quite obvious. If there's going to be a stoppage, it's going to be through that method, just simply through cuts, swellings, in no position physically to continue.
Yeah.
So, but I'm picking UD Lee Haskins. He just has too much sparks. He's got the temperament, and he's got more dimensions to him as a fighter than Stuart Hall. He could, if he wanted to, he could be like a puppeteer to Stuart Hall. I'm going to make you come in. I'm going to make you box at range. So, and like as you said, Lee Haskins is one man, which is very hard to nail down. So you're calling for a fight with Scott Quigg up at super bantamweight?
Yeah. I think the winner should fight Jamie McDonnell. Personally.
But I think Jamie McDonnell, though, is having this fight with Ryoshi Rodden, apparently. That fight is apparently going to be announced in the next 7 to 14 days from my sources. So.
Well, I've spoken to Dave Caldwell in the past, and Jamie McDonnell considers himself an American-based fighter now.
Oh, but anyway, I think he's going to have this Warren fight.
That's a great fight for him, by the way, and he'll make a lot of money doing that, and fair play to him.
I agree so, but I believe in Jamie what it says, that that fight will be his last fight at bantamweight. So I don't see the winner getting Jamie McDonnell. I see Jamie McDonnell going down.
Going up.
Scott Quick. Yeah.
Going up and fighting Scott Quick.
Going down the Scott Quick route. Yeah. So
I agree. I can see that fight happening unless Scott Quick decides to go up to featherweight, which is an if and a but and a maybe. The way Scott Quick trains, I don't think he'll struggle making the weight. I think if he goes up to featherweight, he'll be out of choice.
Yeah.
I can see Scott Quick looking to fight the current, I can't remember his name, the fella who's got the WBA regular belt at super bantamweight.
But anyway,
him.
But anyway,
I can see him going down that route.
Yeah, he's wanting to fight for his old title.
Yeah.
So anyway, and quickly, Stuart Hall, if he loses, is it retirement?
Yeah, to be honest, I think he's done really, really well to get back into this position to fight for the world title again. I'm full credit to him, his management, and his team for getting him into that. But I think it's a bit too. Can he do it all again? I'm not sure.
No. Father Time has got to catch up with you someday. So
can I just interrupt you? Neymar Semeno of Venezuela is the current WBA World Bantamweight regular bantamweight champion.
Super bantamweight, that is.
Super bantamweight, to apologise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's a potential fight for Jamie Scott. Yeah. Even Lee Askins if he wants to move up. So anyway, the next fight, Jean-Miguel Casimero, Charlie Edwards. This was a fight which, again, did not see coming. I was more expecting to see Charlie Edwards challenge Andrew Selby, but for whatever reasons, that fight could not be materialised.
Yeah.
So we end up with Jean-Miguel Casimero, who, in my opinion, one hell of a fighter. I just like the man. He's not very elusive on his feet for a small guy. But one thing which is for certain with Casimero is he's one of the bigger punchers at the light flyweight, super flyweight. He's one of the true punchers, got power in both hands. But also he's a very, very accomplished amateur as well. So he's definitely got the repertoire of shots and the temperament to box and brawl.
Yeah.
And Charlie Edwards, although he's a cracking fighter, certainly on the up, brilliant footwork, brilliant movement, and he's got speed to burn. I just think personally that this is just 3-4 fights too soon for Charlie Edwards. As I said, I believe that he should have been challenging the likes of Andrew Selby, Kevin Satchel first before he moved on to.
I think Kevin Satchel. Out of those, there was a reason Andrew Selby was number 1 on GB.
Yes.
There was a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Charlie Edwards turned pro without attending any form. He was on the GB squad, but without sounding too critical, what did he do for GB?
It wasn't like he got pushed on to the World Championships as such at senior level. He did medal at the Europeans, and he did obviously go for the Olympic qualifiers, I believe, for 2012, I believe. But yes, it is. There is a reason why Andrew Selby was number 1, Charlie Edwards number 2. But Casimero and Edwards, how much have you seen of Casimero? Because he is a relative to a lot of UK fight fans.
Well, I've seen enough. I went and had a watch of watch of his 2 fights with Ruin
Ruin.
the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm not being funny. I don't want to sound too critical. Fair play to Charlie for taking the fight. I don't know if it's a burning self-belief, or it's arrogance. I don't know, or it's arrogance, because at times in his interviews he just comes across as if he's arrogant. I made a quote about this is just another opponent, and that really, really annoyed me. Like, who do you think you're talking to? This guy is beaten. Rimrong was considered probably the best flyweight on the planet.
It was
exception to Chocolatito when he was when he was a flyweight. But yeah, he was considered one of the best flyweights on the planet behind Chocolatito. So how can you just say this is just another opponent? With respect, the best kid he's beaten is Lewis Norman, and that fight was scored 190 for the English title. I thought Lewis Norman. I thought that I'm not saying Charlie didn't win the fight, because he did win the fight, but I thought those scorecards would have been harsh on Lewis. Yeah,
very harsh on Lewis. But I
thought there was more 97, 93, possibly 96, 94. If you're being really critical, but I thought 97, 93 maybe.
Would have been fair. It would have been a very fair scorecard.
Would have been fair. There's a massive step up from his last fight was Luke Wilton. There's for the WBC International Silver. And then you're stepping up to fight Casimero. Nah. Sorry.
Who's a fighter who not a lot of people know of due to the territories he's been fighting in. But one thing is for sure, he has fought the best at light fly, and he's fought the second best flyweight in Ruinrong at the time, and fought him twice. Very unlucky the first time. And the second fight with Ruinrong, although I believe at the time it were close, leading to the 5th round, but Casimero showed what he's known for in them weight divisions. He's a banger, and he basically cut Ruinrong in half. Yeah. Cut him in half, stopped him flat on his face, didn't get back up. And go on, Chris.
I'm not sure whose match made this fight or who thought this fight was a good idea. And if they do, and if it comes off and Charlie wins, it'll be made up for him. And whoever made this fight will be a genius. They know more about boxing than I do. But I work on logic. I work on that. That's how I see fights. I work on logic, positives, negatives, pluses and minuses. That's how I work fights out. And I heard the comments, he's had a hard career. He's 26.
Yeah, he's 26.
He's not old.
He's not old. He's relatively fresh. He hasn't been in many wars as such.
He's just coming off beating one of the most highly rated flyweights of the past decade. Who was undefeated at the time and lost a narrow fight. The first fight was a narrow loss, hence the second fight's happening. Arguably he won the first. Could be argued. I'm not saying he did, but it could be argued. I don't know why this fight's come now. Like, there's other fights. There's other fights out there, and I can't say too much, but I don't know what is the thinking behind this fight. And I think Eddie Hearn putting it on the show because it's not going to be that expensive.
Yeah, indeed. And from what I have gathered in terms of my research is that Eddie Hearn did not suggest this fight as such. It was Al Heyman who recently signed Casimero and saying, have you got, and we all know Al Heyman's relationship with Eddie Hearn. He asked, have you got any flyweights for Jean-Rio Casimero? And that is how the fight transpired. Al Heyman came called in looking for an opponent because, let's say that in America, there is no flyweights for him. In the Philippines, like Casemiro,
who's gonna go near him in the Philippines and Japan after he's just knocked out Mung? No one's gonna fight him.
I'm like, plus also talking domestically for Casemiro, he's beaten all of them. So it will just literally be rematches to a certain degree. So Japan, flyweights, plenty of them about, but is there that many of quality apart from Toki Inoue, Naoya Inoue?
Yeah.
Not particularly, really. And if you're dealing with the Inoues, you're going to be getting a bum deal as such, although they do pay well. And as a champion, I don't think you should be going into someone's backyard completely having it all against you. At least in this fight, at least he has got the comforts of being a champion, is going to get relatively well paid for his weight division, and is going to be getting massive global TV exposure. But in terms of the fight itself, I just see Charlie Edwards losing temperament because he does like to get up close. He does like to brawl up close at times. Well, like it certainly looks like he brawls with how fast he throws his punches. But I just see Charlie Edwards walking onto a trademark right uppercut of Casemiro's up close, and he will be punished that way. I can honestly see Charlie Edwards getting knocked out.
I find it hard to disagree with you. I'm thinking more on. I genuinely can't understand why they took the fight. I just can't.
Mm-hmm. So
there's a lot more.
He's got challenges.
Accessible fight. He's got a build. Like I said, he's coming off the GB squads, and people now think just because you come off the GB squads, you can walk into a world title fight. It doesn't work like that.
Oh. Okay.
And I think he's somewhat disrespected. Casemiro. Mm-hmm. Maybe underestimated him.
Yeah. But I definitely agree that's the case, because although Casemiro is not lightning quick on his feet, he's quick enough to make you miss. He's quick enough to make is very, very well.
You don't have to be quick on your feet to make you miss. They've forgotten about lateral movement. Yeah.
Exactly. But
for me, he's smaller. He'll use this. He's smaller than Charlie. So Charlie will be trying to jab. What's happened when Casemiro comes under the jab, pops an uppercut right through the middle? You know, slip the jab, come up, slip the jab, come round. You know, for me, it's not. For me, I don't think it's a hard fight for Casemiro.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I'm sounding a bit critical and fellow British fighter, but I'm a realist.
I'm in agreement.
I don't buy into hype.
I am in agreement with you. So moving down the card, we'll try and make this quick as we possibly can. Callum Smith defending his WBC silver super middleweight title, against Norbert Nemesepe of Hungary. And one thing which I do not like this fight, I don't like it, not from a competitive standpoint, not at all. From a political point of view, is I don't like talking politics too much. But Chris, I don't know whether you can remember when AIBA announced that professionals would be allowed to compete in the Olympics.
Yes.
WBC stated that they would ban any fighter who competes in the qualifying, and if they qualify, ban them from their rankings. And what did Norbert Namasetti do in July in Vargas, Ecuador? He went to the qualifying tournament. He got ready. He got through to the third round of qualifying, I believe, and lost. Yeah. So he's attempted to qualify, and what is he fighting for? A WBC sanctioned title. So me personally, I don't think that this fight should be happening. Not not like, as I said, not from a competitive point of view. I do believe from like what I've seen of Namasetti, quite limited, but he's durable. So will provide a good blaster for cobwebs for Callum. But I just don't agree with this fight from a political point of view. I just don't think that this fight should be happening just because the WBC are bending their own rules, in all honesty.
I completely agree with you.
So I don't think that this fight is worth particularly talking about. I can see this being a relatively easy job for Callum Smith inside 8 rounds.
I think Callum Smith's an unbelievable fighter, and I think Callum Smith will probably take this kid out in 3 rounds, move on to the next one. I think, I've got nothing but praise for Callum Smith as a fighter. He's an excellent fighter. So I can't see that being competitive.
Excellent fighter, brilliant talent, one of the best super middleweights in the world, and keep your eyes peeled out for Monday. That is when the WBC will be calling the mandatory for Callum Smith to face Badou Jack. That is if a deal is not already agreed with between Badou Jack and James DeGale. But again, another story for another day. So moving down, we've got Andy Townend, facing at one point a very highly rated prospect in Martin J. Ward. I still believe he's a highly rated prospect, but he's had his difficulties in and out of the ring. Still undefeated. Andy Townend, English champion, done it
the hard way.
Done it the hard way. Steffi Bull's done
a fantastic job. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Steffi Bull's done a fantastic job as a trainer and as a manager with him. Yes,
and also I think Andy's done his hometown of Barnsley extremely well as well. He's putting boxing truly back on the map in the town, and I am not saying that just because that's my hometown. And this fight is for the vacant British super featherweight title, if I am correct.
Yes.
I see this fight as a bit of a pick-em fight. I cannot particularly pick. I don't think there's a clear favourite in the fight. In my opinion, I think Andy Townend is incredibly underrated. I think his boxing ability itself is very overlooked, because what most people see is a man just knocking his opponents out. Definitely in the last couple of fights. And Martin J. Ward, he's had his battles with Maxie Hughes. He's another good fighter. He's from based up that way, Doncaster, with Jimmy James Harrington, and he's also training Isaac Lowe now. They've got a really good camp up that way. I've spoken to him in the past and got a lot of praise for. But yeah, like you were saying, sorry, there's I think with Martin J. Ward, it depends what Martin J. Ward turns up. I remember Martin J. Ward in the ABA final against Ryan Farrock at the York Hall, and it seems like a lifetime ago now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, he was boxing for the Repton then. Yeah. And he was a quality fighter then. And then all the times you see him in that Maxie Hughes fight, did he not train correctly, or did he just overlook Maxie Hughes? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I thought Maxie Hughes was unlucky, not to pick up a result that night. So, like you said, it could be a pick-em fight. It could simply come down to who's trained harder, who wants it more. For skill-wise, you're going to go with Martin Ward. Yes, definitely. Well-schooled fighter, slick, can box both on the front and back foot. He's got all the shots. He has got every shot in the textbook and outside the textbook. Textbook. He's got. If you gave Martin Ward a solid mindset of ultimate professionalism, he would be at least European champion by now.
I completely agree, but he's not at that.
He hasn't got that. He's had his issues. He's had injuries.
From where we're standing, by the way, there might be a different story behind it. So I'll put the disclaimer out there. But from an outsider's perspective, he's looked, I wouldn't say troubled because that's a bit of a bad word, but he's had his issues, like you said.
Yeah, he's had his issues, and Andy Townend is finally got the big stages he deserves. He's played his trade on the smaller hall shows. He's won the Central Area. He's won the English. He's been facing good competitive fighters throughout his career, and he's definitely got the advantage in terms of experiences. And he's come up against tricky fighters like Martin J. Ward before.
Yes.
So, and
he's done it the hard way. He's done it the traditional way.
Yeah.
He's done it the way I like it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
He's to a lot of kids to be a Central Area champion. I don't like these, and I won't name names, but there's certain fighters who if you're not going to win an ABA title and then go on and win a British title, they'll turn your nose up at you and go, "What are you boxing for?" Don't waste your time because they've had a decent career. They've won British, European titles, whatever. And I won't name names, but there are a few. Whether they like it or not, there are a few. To a lot of kids, a mate of mine, Chris Conwell, he's trained by John Murray, former British European champion. He beat Lee Appleyard on, I think it was Steffi Bull's show, actually, the other day. He stopped Lee Appleyard for the Central Area title. Yeah. And, I've seen Chris from when he made his pro debut under John. And John even said himself that's one of the proudest moments of his boxing career. And this is a man who boxed Brandon Rios at Madison Square Garden. To a lot of kids, winning the Central Area title is winning a world title. Yeah. It genuinely is. And, and there's a lot of work that, with respect, Martin J. Ward probably hasn't had to do. He hasn't had to, get up in the morning, go to work, go for his run, go to work, go home, go to the gym, and then go out selling tickets at night. Mm-hmm. People forget that. Andy Townend has done that. Like Chris Conwell's, I've seen Chris Conwell do that all the way through his camp. For when he fought Lee Appleyard, and he went into the fight as the underdog. Lee Appleyard was the favourite, and to a lot of people, that Central Area title means as much as winning a world title would be. A boy I know who's just turned pro with Kieran Farrell, a boy called Lee Clayton, who's from Bury. Yeah. He said to me, if I win a Central Area title, I'll be happy. Another lad, he's just turned pro with Steve Furness, under John Murray as well, called Lee Carter. He was in the army for a long time in the Grenadier Guards, and he was another one who just went, if I win a Central Area title, I'll be happy. In my opinion, there's too much emphasis put on these international titles now, and not enough emphasis put on the Central Area titles and the English titles, because that's the way to do it. And that's when you learn your trade, and the traditional apprenticeship is done that way, not by fighting some bin man from Mexico. I'll do that, and I'm terrible at boxing.
Oh, all right, a little bit of rant. It was very, very educational. At least there was some logic. But yeah, you're right in saying that Martin J. Ward, in comparison to Andy Townend, has had a very, very relative easy ride, and that is what is making me pick Andy Townend. I just think he's just simply got more experience than Martin J. Ward. He's fought at a better level, although lower down the title chart as such than Martin J. Ward. But that is not saying that Martin J. Ward can turn up and just put on a boxing masterclass and win within 9-10 rounds and go back to the changing room and sit down for the main event. I'm not ruling that out, because that is very possible. But I just see Andy Townend as I don't want to say old man in him because Andy Townend is not an old man. He's not. He's only in his late 20s.
Yeah.
But
Excuse me.
I just see Andy Townend is having too many tricks in the bag to frustrate Martin J. Ward and then eventually knock him out. I can see a 10th round knockout for Townend. Yourself?
Yeah. See, I can't see Andy Townend stopping him. But I can see him getting a knockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And that theory comes from Martin J. Ward's, heritage of being a traveller, the tough kids. I can't see him getting stopped. I would not be surprised to see Martin Ward. If I'm gonna use my head here, I'm gonna go for Martin Ward split decision.
Interesting call. And what fights have we missed out on the show on the show so far?
Paul Smith's fighting someone. I think he's looking to rebuild
in a 4-round.
Yeah, 4-6, something like that.
In a 4-rounder, then we've got Gavin McDonnell in a 8-rounder.
I genuinely didn't know Gavin McDonnell was on the card.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't say a lot for me. I don't have Sky Telly, so.
Interesting.
I did not know we had that.
Yeah. He's got an 8-rounder against a guy who I'm not even going to pronounce to say, despite me writing about it. We've also got Kid Galahad on the bill as well, fighting another guy whose name I'm not going to attempt to butcher. Is involved in an 8-rounder. We've got Craig Richards in a 6-rounder, and the Dart Destroyer Mark II in Conor Benn fighting on the bill. So go on.
Yeah, I've got the card. Daniel Rigi, that is who Paul Smith's got 28-13. From, I think he is won his last 2 from Hungary. But I can't see that Paul having any problems with him. Gavin McDonnell is fighting Robin Zamora, no relation to Bobby, from Nicaragua.
I've seen this kid. He's only 18-year-old, so
he's 6-2.
He's 6-2, but 18-year-old, who I don't think should even be in the ring with Gavin McDonnell.
I completely agree. Kid Galahad making it, but there's a topic. Kid Galahad making this with it. But I think Kid Galahad boxed not long ago. I'm sure
he boxed in Wigan in April.
He boxed on Neil Marsh's show. He boxed on Neil Marsh's show in Wigan. Yeah.
Neil Marsh's show, not Steve Woods, but I knew it was either Wood or Marsh. So
yeah,
it was in Wigan.
Yeah, Robbie Davis topped the bill on that show.
Yeah.
And he actually boxed a lightweight on that. But obviously, and he got the stoppage at lightweight as well.
Yeah, he will do. But like the return of Kid Galahad.
Return of Kid Galahad to the big stage. What weight's he gonna come back at? I've heard feather.
If he boxes at featherweight, he's definitely got the size and frame to do featherweight. But he's been in the gym since even while being suspended. I still think.
Yeah.
I think he's targeting a South Yorkshire derby between Gavin McDonnell and himself, which would be a cracking fight. But
would you put that on the same? I think that putting that on the same card as Josh Warrington versus Lee Selby, or Josh Warrington for the world title at Ellen Road next summer. Kid Galahad, Gavin McDonnell on the undercard. That's one hell of a show at Ellen Road.
I think that fight would sell better if it was on a Kell Brook undercard at Bramall Lane, but
good shout. Because they're both Galahad,
one it is
Sheffield, isn't he?
Yeah, and Gavin McDonald is Doncaster, and they're literally about 20 minutes apart.
Yeah.
So,
however, you've got to consider then, what will Kell Brook be doing after this? I think if he loses, I think if he wins or loses, I think he'll go down to 154. He won't fight welterweight again.
oh, definitely, because I saw an interview with Paulie Malignaggi today saying that Kell Brook is going to potentially weigh in as heavy as 176, which is absolutely crazy if that happens, but that would not surprise me if that happens. So I would like to thank you very much for your time. Chris, if you have any comments which you want to put out now, this is your time to do so.
Well, no. Firstly, thanks for having me. I really do appreciate you having me on. Secondly, just wanted to mention quickly the shows that I'm doing a bit of work for at the moment. The St Andrews Sporting Club, which is still the longest serving private gentlemen's club, sporting club in the world. 43 years old this year. Our show is September 29th. It's live on STV, and it's available in England and Wales as well, and Northern Ireland on the STV player online. STV, just to confirm to everyone, that is the Scottish version of ITV. The bill's topped by, in my opinion, a cracking fight. Dundee's Mikey Towell, who's undefeated. He's contesting a final eliminator for the British title against Welshman Dale Evans. I think Dale Evans also comes to fight. He's been seen on Frank Warren shows, and I think he gives Matchroom, he gave Sam Megginson a cracking fight, if I remember correctly.
Knocked him down in the first round.
Yeah, I think, and Mikey is all action. He doesn't take a backward step. If you haven't seen Mikey Towell box before, watch Mikey Towell box. He's just all action, no nonsense, big hitting. Those two are contesting a final eliminator for Bradley Skeet's British title, so the winner will fight for the British title. I think that's not just because I'm doing the press for it. I think it's a cracking fight. On the undercard, we've got Grant Quigley, who was the former British junior champion, Scottish champion, boxed internationally for Scotland. He's looking in absolute cracking shape. He wants the Scottish title and then to move forward to the British in the next 12 months. Another I think Sam Ball was on the GB squad briefly, or did a bit with the GB squad. He's another former Scottish international, and another one in the hunt for titles. Sam's last fight, won by knockout on the undercard of Ricky Burns at the Hydro. And then we've got a young boy, Martin Arkin, making his debut at welterweight. Very highly rated kid, very nice kid as well. So that is September 29th, live on STV, and obviously we've been doing a lot of HitHard. I've been doing a lot of coverage on that show, and I thank you for helping me with everything for that. I've got that, and then I've got Kieran Farrell on November the 11th, Friday, November the 11th, his third instalment of Friday Fight Night. We've got Nathan Wheatley topping the bill. Nathan Wheatley is actually on the undercard of Anthony Crolla. He's been doing a lot of sparring with Paul Smith and Callum Smith. In the lead up to their respective contests on Saturday night. Nathan Wheatley is fighting. He's taking a step up. He's fighting for a British challenge belt over 8 rounds against Alistair Warren. Also on that bill, he's from Warrington, Nathan, and fellow Warrington lad Danny Craven. Danny Craven was on the GB development squad. He's light welterweight, and he's just someone you've got to watch. Honestly, he's been sparring Anthony Crolla every week for Jorge Linares, and he's not made his pro debut yet. So that should tell you this kid's got it. He makes his professional debut. Also, Georgie Brennan, who is a super bantamweight Hatton-esque style fighter. He's trained by Kieran as well. Kieran loves the kid. He got the stoppage on his pro debut last time out. He'll have his second professional contest. And there's a couple of other lads on the bill, and I do apologise for not mentioning them. But want to keep it as short as I can without going on. But Kieran, what's I like about, and the reason why I approached Kieran in the first place to get involved with him is he sells tickets for his show, unreserved tickets at Bowlers Arena in Manchester, which was the venue. Which unfortunately was the venue where Kieran's career ended. And I was there that night. But Derry Matthews boxed on chief support. But it's a cracking little venue. It's a cracking night out, and you can get in there for as cheap as £20 for the ticket. And in my opinion, he's doing boxing in the northwest of England a service by only charging £20 for the ticket, because anyone can come out and watch that. Outer ringside tickets £35, VIP 55.
Oh.
And you're getting well matched quality fights.
Oh.
They're not some of the lads on the card. They're not the greatest in the world technically, but they'll have a fight and they come to win, and every fight's competitive. Even with the journeyman, every fight's competitive.
Yeah, and okay, Chris, and I just want to make clear that all of those cards which Chris has just mentioned, they are already accessible for the ticket information on HitHard on hithardnews.com. Just click on the tab UK Boxing and you will be able to search for them and scroll down to find those relative cards. So I would like to thank you, Chris, and I would like to thank the listeners to listening to HitHard News. I have been your host, and I would like to wish you goodbye. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.